Hello, my name is Tylluan Penry. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. Today's little chat is about looking at the world in miniature. Now, one of the problems we have, and I don't just mean you and me, I don't just mean people who want to be witches or pagans or whatever. I mean the world in general. One of the problems people have then is the difficulty in seeing the bigger picture. You see this with politicians a lot. You see they might be focused on one little thing and their mind just goes to a point. And no, we often will turn to each other and say, well, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, or she's never lived an ordinary life, which is quite true in many instances. But what I'm talking about is that if we don't see the bigger picture, it's often very difficult to focus on what we want because we're already so focused on one thing that we're trying to focus a bit more. And it's like, focusing the camera. You're focusing literally, you're going on to macro and super macro, and it can be difficult. There are times when you need it, but there are definitely times when you don't. And so what I'm going to suggest is the world in miniature. Now, anybody who knows me or has come across me on social media, who's that? Mabel. Anybody who's come across me on social media or in real life will probably know that I love miniatures. And in particular, I love doll's house miniatures, miniature gardens, miniature houses, miniature room boxes. I find them very, what's the word? They help me focus, they help me concentrate. I can go into a world that I would never go into in real life. I mean, my particular favourite is going into the world, the Tudor world, the Elizabethan, Tudor, medieval, where everything was a very different outlook. Why do I like it? Well, I'll let you in on a secret. I used to make a lot of my own furniture, and trust me, Tudor furniture is an awful lot easier to make than Georgian furniture. The Georgians knew what they were doing. They had people like Hepplewhite and Sheridan, and they made beautiful furniture. I could never do that, so I went back to earlier times when the local carpenter knocked you up a table or a chair or a bench, and things like that were very much simpler. And I've actually seen some of these houses because not far from where I grew up, there's a wonderful museum called the Welsh Folk Museum at St Fagans, which is just outside Cardiff. And it's quite easy to get to, or it used to be. A wonderful place to go and see if you're ever in South Wales. Fantastic. But I have actually been in a lot of these houses, so you feel them and you get a feel for them. Why? I don't know. I don't really know. But I do feel that my connection with those times and periods is actually quite nice. And I like going round and looking at, they're fully furnished with all the stuff from the period. Absolutely wonderful, honestly. And you see them and it brings home to you that people lived in these places once. And sometimes you would go and you'd feel you were almost waiting for the owner to come back. It was wonderful. But this sense of relating to place and this sense of relating to people who have gone before, you see, links in very well with what I was saying in my earlier video about the ancestors. And also you think then of where the ancestors lived and stuff like that. Now, I'm much further away from St Fagans now, so getting there, I can't drive anymore because I'm not allowed to because of my eyes. It's wonderful to have something like a doll's house where you really immerse yourself in the feeling and you think, oh gosh, that's fantastic, that's wonderful. That's what it could have been like. And instead of going to a house where you can only spend perhaps 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you move on to see the next one, instead of that, you can sit and look at these things all day. So I have a couple set in Georgian times. Not Georgian, what am I talking about? Tudor times. And I have one which was a happy discovery, which is a doll's house which is made to look Tudor, but it was actually made in the 1940s, just after the war. And it was a kit. And somebody, either their father, brother, grandfather, mother, whoever, they lovingly put this house together. And it's got little black beams on the house and things like that. But it's quite modern inside. And it's all got the original wallpaper. So we're talking about something now which is close on, what are we talking about? Getting on for 80 years old, this doll's house. So it's all decorated 40s and 50s, and that's been fantastic, to sort of go back to that period. Again, looking back, looking at ancestors. I had, grandparents who were alive then. I had grandparents who were already dead by then. I had parents alive then, myself, siblings. So it's lovely to see it. And of course it looks Tudor. And I must confess, the house where I live looks Tudor. It was actually built to be a replica almost, so it's quite fascinating. But the idea of place and looking at things in miniature, you see, if you can't get yourself the sort of place you want, then you can make it in very small scale. And there's lots of books available on it and videos. So, you can get cracking on that. You can make a garden shed, you could make a shop, a market stall, whatever. There's even people out there who make undertakers' shops, things like that. You're looking at the world in miniature, though, and you're beginning to get that feeling that I got down in St Fagans, where you're almost waiting for the owners to come home. And that gives you a sense of, well, who were they? What did they do? What did they think? What did they believe? And you're world building. That's a popular word these days amongst authors. World building, where you are building a world. And that's exactly what you're doing. It's very good for your imagination, very good for your spell work. And I think it's rather nice as a hobby too. So, there we go. I'd better finish there, I think. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you. Goodbye.